Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the San Gabriel City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 20th. I call this regular meeting to order at 6:32. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by me. Please stand. And face the, well, we're supposed to have a flag. Jonathan, we're going to have our flag on the screen.
Yes, please stand by.
Great. Please face the flag on the screen. There we go. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, you may be seated. Roll call, please.
Mayor Menchaca,
Here.
Vice Mayor Liao,
Here.
Councilmember Ding,
Here.
Councilmember Harrington,
Here.
Councilmember Pu.
Here.
Okay, we will start with some announcements from our Chief City Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight's meeting is live streamed on cable channel 3 and our online platforms. Please email all public comments to cityclerk@sgch.org no later than the time the item is considered by the council tonight. Comments will be read for up to 3 minutes each. Comments received after the end of the public comment section will be forwarded to the City Council after the meeting. If you wish to be added to the distribution list to receive City Council agendas, please email your request to cityclerk@sgch.org.
Thank you, Sharon. First item, the approval of the agenda order. Are there any objections to the agenda order? Hearing none, seeing none, the agenda order is approved. Next item, please.
Presentations, COVID-19 briefing. Presentations will be made by Fire Chief Wallace and Police Chief Harris.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. This is Steve Wallace, the Fire Chief for the City of San Gabriel, and tonight I'll give you a brief update on the impact on fire department operations in relation to COVID-19. As I'm sure you know, LA County has remained in the highest risk level, which is purple, which indicates widespread impact within the county. But that being said, we're at the lowest ICU and ventilator utilization rates since the onset of the pandemic. We also are holding steady at about a 3.2 to 3.3 test positivity rate, which is at the lower end of that scale as well. Since our last briefing a couple of weeks ago, San Gabriel has experienced 7 more cases for a total of 675 in the city, and we have had no more deaths. We are still holding at 68 deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. What that says to us is that our residents are doing a really good job of slowing the spread in our city. The skilled nursing facilities within the city limits have had 0 new cases and 0 deaths as of this afternoon. The average patient census is 52 in each facility with a high of 91. And again, what this is showing us is infection control measures are working well in these facilities.
Okay.
The fire department is fully operational and 100% healthy, and our call volume is at pretty much our pre-COVID levels. And finally, our PPE stocks are plentiful, both via normal supply channels and through donations, such as the Lions donation a week ago that several of you helped us out with. And that's my end of report for the evening.
Great, thank you, Chief. Chief Wallace. Chief Harris, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. This is Gene Harris, the Police Chief for the City of San Gabriel. It will be a brief COVID briefing. We are 100% staffing, providing all of our levels of service to the community. We once again want to thank folks for the voluntary compliance to all of the safety rules. I think that has contributed greatly to what the fire chief has talked about with regard to the reductions we're experiencing. So kudos to you folks. We have no new increases or spikes or notable types of criminal increases or crimes. We are still holding steady at normal rates. We'd like to see some of that drop, but as we get toward the holiday season, sometimes we expect a few spikes, but we'll manage that. But as far as COVID is concerned, it's not really having the significant impact on those areas. Nothing else to report. That will be the end of it for PD.
Okay, thank you. Council members, do you have any questions? Okay, I hear none. I have
Madam Mayor,
oh, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I don't have a question. I just want to make a statement. So, yeah, last week we received donations from Lions Club, and as a matter of fact, there are more donations from community members. But just let me know. If we need more, they have more. So that's what I say. Thank you. Thank you for doing such a great job, both fire and police. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, I was there also, and very generous on the Lions Club. It's a San Gabriel Lions Club. So it's nice that they're giving back to our community. Chief Harris, I did have a quick question. I'm going to say it's COVID related. Because of COVID, we have these drop boxes now. There's 3 of them. And recently in a neighboring city, there was some vandalism that took place at the drop box. Is there anything we're doing to protect people who are concerned about going to the actual ballot because of COVID and protecting our drop boxes?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have a plan in place for both the 2 polling places in our city and to actually patrol the ballot boxes that are in our city as well. The comprehensive part of the plan is still being developed. I expect that will be developed by the end of the week and broadcast through the chain coming up to you folks at some point shortly thereafter. But we are certainly in the planning stages with the LA County Chiefs and the other agencies around us and partnering with fire departments to ensure we're paying as much attention to the ballot boxes and the voting places as possible to ensure we have the best, most effective voter security efforts here within the city. We're also working with the cities that are contiguous to us, some of the county areas that have voting places and ballot boxes that may be close to our city, so that we are in a concerted effort with them to make sure that that safety doesn't just stop at the border, that everything that touches us is going to be impacted by the efforts that we're putting forward. So short answer is yes, and we're going to continue to monitor.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Councilmember Ding.
Yeah. Okay. Before our meeting, I saw the news on the city of Ballroom Park. They find out the voting box. It's a fire. So how can we protect this kind of voting drop box?
Well, aside from making them fireproof and impenetrable, which is probably not likely in the short term, the idea is to provide as much security and extra patrol as we can. Obviously, we can't position a body there all day, all the time, but we will certainly have some extra patrol and some directed patrol from the law enforcement side to ensure we're paying attention to those ballot boxes at all hours. So we're going to do what we can with plain clothes, folks. When people think no one's looking, there will be someone looking. And so that is the way we're going to address it from the law enforcement side. Fire is certainly working through their arson investigators and some of the other folks and their county resources to ensure that we're prepared for any of those types of incidents. And our fire chief is really paying attention to those things, and we get briefed on it just about every day. So we are definitely applying that concerted effort across the disciplines to make sure that we are paying attention.
Okay, thank you, Chief Harris. Another question, the second question is it how often they take back the drop box? So if they more often, it's maybe more less damage, if just in case, for my understanding.
I'm sorry, sir, was that a question for
for
me?
How often they like post office, like every afternoon, like 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they pick up the mail. But the same thing, I think the same thing is when the county will have some people that pick up the voting box.
Maybe Sharon could or Mark, okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Dean, this is Mark Lazaretto.
Hi,
That is
yeah.
a county function, so we don't control that. But in our conversations with the county, they have said that it'll be every couple of days. So it won't be a buildup of a lot of days worth of ballots that will be in there. So at least a few times a week, they will plan on going to all of the ballot box locations in this county. That being said, we don't have any control over that other than, as Chief Harris said, to watch those from time to time.
Okay. Okay, maybe we can have a suggestion county is more often to pick it up. You know, so less damage. Yeah. Okay.
We will pass that suggestion on to the county. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's proceed to the next item. Public comment.
This is the time set aside for members of the public to address the City Council on items of interest that are not on the agenda, but are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the San Gabriel City Council. And Madam Mayor, we do have 2 comments this evening that were submitted for the general public comment section. The first is anonymous and reads as follows. I have been a San Gabriel resident for 12 years, and I just want to show my support and appreciation for the adoption ordinance number 670 to establish the HERE Commission. The commission is a real step forward for race, gender, and ability equity, and it's a mark of San Gabriel's ability to progress towards a better city. The next comment is from Dr. Chastity Jennings Nunez and reads as follows. Councilman Harrington, I am unable to address the many misleading, incorrect, and offensive statements you made during the discussion of the HERE Commission at the October 6th City Council meeting because, unlike council members, public comments need to be focused and are thankfully limited to 3 minutes. So I will focus on one of the most egregious. The First Amendment is the cornerstone of American democracy. It guarantees the freedoms of religion, expression, speech, and peaceful protest. There is a reason that it is the First Amendment that makes up the Bill of Rights protecting the civil liberties of those living in the United States. So when Councilman Harrington said that in return for being given the privilege of volunteering their time and energy to serve on the HERE Commission, members should also be required to give up some of their First Amendment rights. This was the single most anti-American sentiment I have heard him express in the last several months of his attempts to disparage the idea of the commission. He goes on to erroneously state that this was specified in the agreement proposed to the chamber. This is 100% false. What is specified in the chamber agreement is that the Chamber of Commerce as an organization should be apolitical and non-discriminatory. It says absolutely nothing about the individual members of the chamber, and since I know that several of those members are active and vocal supporters of Councilman Harrington, it is the ultimate in hypocrisy that he would suggest that commissioners on the HERE Commission should forfeit that civil right to serve on it. The Historical Preservation and Cultural Resource Ordinance was voted on under then Vice Mayor Harrington in 2017. Buried within 2 pages of the 44-page ordinance, the Historical Preservation Commission was established. The fiscal impact for the ordinance doesn't list a single dollar amount or estimate of staff time. There was no concern about commission meeting expenses. In addition, there has never in recent years been a single line item in the city's budgets concerning expenditures for commissions. What are you and others so afraid of with the establishment of the HERE Commission? Why is the idea of review and evaluation so frightening? Evaluations occur in every aspect of our lives, at work, at school, within our home, etc. It is the way we identify what is being done well and opportunities for improvement and change. Councilman Harrington, I do not understand how you can continue to say that this commission is unnecessary, despite even your fellow council members providing personal stories of bias and unequal treatment in this city. I hope that you will find a way to work with the HERE commissioners and support the goals of the commission. And Madam Mayor, that concludes the comments.
Thank you, Sharon. Next item, please.
Consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and recommendations will be approved in one motion unless a member of the City Council or public requests separate discussion. Madam Mayor, we have not received requests from the public to pull any items, but we have received 2 comments on item 4H. Before I read those comments, staff respectfully requests that item 4H, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 670, establishing the Human Equity, Access, and Relations, or HERE Commission, be approved with 2 administrative changes. When the item was approved at introduction, changes were approved to remove the words "and scope" from proposed municipal code sections 33.52C and 33.56D. The version included in the packet for this meeting inadvertently did not include those changes, so staff requests that adoption of ordinance number 670 would include those changes. Would you like me to go ahead and read the comments at this time?
Yes, please.
The first comment is from Anna Battaglia, a San Gabriel resident, and reads as follows. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I oppose the HERE Commission. The structure of the commission is in conflict with its purpose. Do not let the HERE Committee become a commission. The next comment is from Mario Pace and reads as follows. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Mario Pace, and I am a longtime resident of the city of San Gabriel. I am adamantly opposed to the HERE Commission, and you should be as well. Any actions on the commission should be tabled until the public can meet in person in the council chamber to discuss this item. At this point, it is still unclear what the objectives of the commission are, how they will be implemented, or how the public will be positively or negatively affected by it. The public needs more information, and it is irresponsible to move forward with this item. Finally, if at all possible, please try to wrap up this meeting by the 6th inning. Thank you. And Madam Mayor, that concludes the comments.
Okay, thank you. Would any council member like to pull any items for separate discussion? Seeing that, oh, Vice Mayor?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to pull item I for discussion.
Okay. Is it discussion or just clarification?
Discussion. Yeah.
Okay, so should we just go ahead and approve, seek approval on other items and approve this one separately, Vice Mayor?
Sure. So I'll motion to approve A through H.
I second.
Item I.
Okay, who's second? I heard Councilmember Pooh. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and take a vote, Sharon, on those items. And
And
then,
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can we just get clarification that that includes the fixes to the HERE Commission item?
okay,
That motion includes those fixes?
okay, so we'll amend it. Do you accept the friendly amendment, Vice Mayor, and
Yes.
approve with the fixes that were listed by our Chief City Clerk? Okay, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sharon
Oh,
has something.
Sharon.
I'm sorry, we do have one late comment that just came in.
Okay, I'm sorry that there's some, I'm not sure if it's someone's mic, some buzzing sound in the background. Sharon, okay, go ahead. I forgot to mention that we had closed public comments, so go ahead.
Okay, this last comment is from Isella Bowles and reads as follows. It is offensive that the report under fiscal impact continues to undermine and falsely report that this commission will have no fiscal impact at all other than the existing staff resources, when in fact the agenda states that the staff compiled the report and that these council members have held meetings to compile a report for this agenda item. It also states that a staff member will be appointed to work with the members of this commission. In addition, will this mean that during the meetings of this commission, our city attorney will do pro bono? Again, this is for the sole purpose of their political gain. If the intent of creating a HERE Commission based on race segregation, gender, and ideas, I will warn these council members that this approach will be unconstitutional. It is also against our community's cohesiveness that individuals from outside of the city would take a seat at this commission, as they would lack any repercussions for their decisions and opinions. However, if you insist on looking at unfairness, then I will point you in the direction of Councilmember Chinho Liao. Please address the letter that was written by the insurance company in regards to his inappropriate treatment of women from our staff. I will attach a copy for the record. The reason of this HERE Commission has the intentions to defund our police department. Again, let me point out that this is the last thing we need to do, as the safety of our community is at stake. Under section 33.51, under purpose and scope, this here commission will have the power to request and obtain information to incidents or complaints. This will travel to the terrain of personal individuals' information that perhaps would violate privacy. That concludes the comment.
Okay, so why don't we move ahead and vote? We have a first and a second. Would that be Marilyn?
All right, Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Pu,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Liao,
Aye.
Mayor Menchaca.
Aye.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Vice Mayor Lau, would you, why don't you just go from here?
Thank you.
Agenda item
Madam.
I. Let me
Yeah.
just repeat it for the audience or for the public. I is the adoption of a resolution approving a Proposition 68 round 4 grant application and adoption of a resolution to amend the 2020-2021 operating budget. Okay, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Prop 68 was passed 2018 with 4.1 billion bond, and it's ongoing funding to many aspects regarding how to, in natural resources and that environmental issues in parks and recreations. So I'm happy that our city applied. I believe this is the second time through the state parks and development and community revitalization program. It is round 4. Yeah, we didn't get it last time, but I think we should keep trying. And I know maybe this is the last time that we could try. But I have a question. Since we apply for the same thing, the Smith Park swimming pool and a bathroom, did we do anything differently to qualify for this grant?
Would that be Rebecca?
Yeah.
Rebecca, you're on mute.
My phone was unmuted. Okay. Good evening, council members. And this is Rebecca Perez, Community Services Director. I'd be happy to answer that question. So we did, you're correct, we were not funded with this last round of funding. We applied last year in 2019 for the round 3 of funding. We have since had a phone meeting with the state to get some feedback on that grant application and have received some feedback that could be beneficial for moving forward with the grant. Unfortunately, because it is not a new park project, there are 3 categories that can apply for this grant. A new park, which receives the most points for that particular category. A expanded park, which would be actually adding property to an existing park, which this project is also not in that category, or a park renovation. So for that particular item, we do receive the lowest points. So there's no way we can achieve the highest points. However, they do fund renovation projects, which is obviously why we're applying for this particular project, because this is such a huge need in our community. So we have received some positive feedback from the state as to changes that we might implement into our application. Our grant team, in anticipation of the council's approval of this item tonight, our grant team will actually meet tomorrow to begin those discussions and how we are moving forward. Because we have the bones, I'll say, of a strong grant application, we will be making some minor changes or more than minor changes, I'll say, and also holding a couple of community meetings as well. We will be looking at the site that we had, or the changes that we had proposed for the park layout. There are some changes. Public Works has been working on the restroom building, and that was part of our renovation as part of the first project. So we'll be looking at that and maybe making some some changes to the layout, which is why you're seeing the cost for the consultants that you're seeing. But we have a good feeling after meeting with the state. So
That's great. So what's the amount that we're asking for this grant?
I don't know at this time. For this round, I can tell you for the first round, we did ask for the full 8.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into our conversation with the state, our grant team was questioning whether or not we should have requested a lower amount. The majority of the renovation projects that were funded were smaller amounts, more like 2 million, 3 million. There was one renovation project that was funded at the full 8.5 million. But after talking with the state, we're pretty confident that their advice was to move forward with what the community needs and what the community wants. So as we go back out with the community, we'll be discussing those things and making sure what we're submitting is the best project for our community.
Okay. Well, I think the
and they do have more funding this round too, which is
I know,
beneficial.
395 million this time. So yeah, but yeah, you're asking for the top money because it's 200,000 to even. Well, hopefully we can get it this time. But there are other ways to get Prop 68 money. As a matter of fact, the RMC, the River and Mountain Conservancy. Tomorrow they will have a call for projects, and for our city, we actually could get a small grant, 300,000, and it is easy because it's in LA County, so less competitions. All we have to do, maybe provide the composting site at the park, or maybe show native plants in one of our parks, and we can qualify for this type of grant, for education's purpose. So that's one. Another one is free money. I mentioned that before. It's 200,000. It's a per capita program, and if it's a regional project, with 400,000. But I think for city, I don't know, we will apply already. That's 200,000, for us to ask and receive. So anyway, keep up the good work, and I just want to say, hey, good luck this time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And just to let council know, we've attended a training actually on the per capita fund, so we are aware of that over $200,000 amount that the city will be receiving. And I'd be happy to connect with the RMC and see what that funding is. You may recall that we worked with the RMC on our Lugo Park project. So we have worked with that organization in the past. So that might be a good partnership we could do again.
So RMC, you probably know the guy. His name is Joe Gonzalez, and he's going to start a workshop starting from next week. So he's going to tell us, how to apply for this small grants. So yeah, I think this is probably easier to get, so $300,000. So this is not a big amount of money, but it's better than nothing. So thank you. Thank you for doing such a great job.
Thank you.
Any other council members have any questions? Okay, Vice Mayor, would you like to move to approve?
Yes, I'll move.
Okay, and I'll second for consent agenda item I. So no further discussion. Okay, Sharon or Marilyn, would you like to take the vote, please?
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Pu,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Liao,
Aye.
Mayor Menchaca.
Aye.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, next item.
There is no public hearing this evening. The next item is new business item A, monthly budget update. Presentation will be made by Interim Finance Director Ken Louie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council has requested that staff conduct a monthly update at their regularly scheduled second meeting of each month. This standing item is for the purpose of bringing any major changes or developments to the City Council. Tonight we'll be looking at some of the areas of deficiency that we want to bring front and center in the interest of transparency, as was the idea of this staff report, as well as the uncertainties due to COVID. First slide, please. Tonight we want to talk about different areas that will be needing adjustments. We're not planning to formally make those adjustments at this time. We're close to the end of the year, and generally we'll look to do those at mid-year, but we do want to bring them front and center to the City Council tonight. First of all, property tax. As we discussed in previous meetings, the property tax is going very well. The assessments continue to be very, very high, and this $400,000 is what we think will be over the estimated revenue, and it likely could be even higher than that. So we're estimating $400,000 to the good in property tax as a possible adjustment at mid-year. Next, we have our Bradley Burns sales tax, and new information that has came in between this meeting and the last meeting is we do have most of our numbers in, and it allows HDL to be able to estimate what we're going to look like over the next fiscal year. At this time, we're proposing that we're likely to need to reduce the Bradley Burns sales tax by $372,000. And secondly, we'll need to reduce our Measure SG transaction tax by $105,000, which is only 3.8%. And so you might say, well, why are we reducing the Bradley Burns by 10% of our estimate, whereas the Measure SG transaction tax is only being reduced by 3.8%? That's because it's how the tax is calculated. Very fortunately, the Measure SG, basically we derive revenues from, as we talked about, not only online purchases, but if someone were to go buy a vehicle, let's say someone bought a vehicle at Gaudi Honda in Alhambra. Well, Alhambra would get the Bradley Burns 1%. However, when the individual purchaser gives their address, the San Gabriel address, we get the full transaction tax of 0.75. We also get the full 0.75 on internet purchases or deliveries to San Gabriel residents. So that's why there's a little bit of difference between the percentage reductions. So Measure SG is very strong, and we're only recommending we write this down at 3.8% this time. The next very likely adjustment, or will be an adjustment at the end of this year, is the franchise fee. As you're aware, we recently went into a contract with Athens, and it'll net us $350,000 in revenue, which we did not expect, so that'll be an adjustment. And finally, a couple more adjustments in our overnight parking and our parking citations, which, as you know, our parking program has been temporarily tabled due to COVID over the first July through October months. We are planning, however, to bring that to your attention and under separate cover at the very next council meeting as far as the parking. So when you add up all those adjustments, plus and minus, it comes out to $127,000 negative adjustment. Next slide, please. So how are we going to pay for these? How are we going to, without disturbing our budget, how are we going to cover these overages, this anticipated overage? Well, you'll recall that we're receiving $495,000 in CARES Act and about $412,000 that's attributable to this current fiscal year. You'll recall of that money, council determined they wanted to put money towards the phone system and some very minor equipment, as well as additionally funding the senior meals. And then council very prudently put the balance of it, about $322,000, into a contingency reserve, anticipating these changes. So the plan is at this time to hopefully keep that money in contingency reserve to be able to offset these anticipated shortfalls of revenue. And those would be our adjustments, and I'll take any questions.
Okay, before we take the questions, I'll just make the announcement that the time for public comment on this item is now closed. Chief City Clerk, please read any comments received.
Madam Mayor, there are no comments for this item.
Okay, so we'll now start with council discussion deliberation. Are there any? Do we have any questions? I see one hand. Vice Mayor Lau?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a quick question regarding the franchise fees. So I think we have a couple of franchise fees besides this new one. We used to have Athens franchise fee, I believe is 450,000. Can you clarify that?
Councilman, the reason why the franchise fees are in this report tonight is because these are additional fees we did not anticipate when we did our budget. So this 350,000 is literally a payment that Athens is making to us as a result of us extending their contract. But yes, we do have several companies that pay us a franchise fee. I don't have that list in front of me, but that is why this one's being called out.
Okay. So yeah, I did talk about this Athens contracts fee. The whole purpose is, we want them to fix our streets because the garbage truck's so heavy and they usually damage our streets. And if it's possible, even though this is a franchise fee, can we designate it to street paving purpose?
Councilman, that would be up to the discretion of council. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks, Ken. Vice Mayor, now this is Mark Lazaretto. We absolutely can. My suggestion for council this first year, because of our negative fund balance position, would be to put that into our fund balance until we're in a positive position. But absolutely going forward, council could, during budget time, could allocate that towards additional funding. And you were correct about your other question about Athens. They do pay us. It's not a franchise fee. We call it a waste management fee. And it pays for our graffiti removal. It pays for our street sweeping. And then whatever is left over, we end up using towards extra street paving. So that part of that does go towards street paving as well. But certainly council could in the future, as part of the budget process, allocate that $350,000 to additional street miles.
Well, the reason is, we always get complaints from our residents, 30 years, 40 years, their streets never been paved. And we always give an answer, well, there's not enough funding. For instance, we just recently, there's a resident, and I guess our city engineer just reply to this gentleman and said, well, right now we only have $2.1 million to fix our streets, but our goal to, keep it at the same level, as a matter of fact, it's not improving. We need $5.7 million. So the point is, if we not going to put the fixing streets as the first priority, we never can catch up. So I just think maybe this is the funding that we should use for street paving. Yeah.
Any other questions? Comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Pu.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to thank Ken and the entire executive team for these monthly budget updates. I think it's really helpful for us at the council to monitor this situation, the financial situation, particularly because it is so dynamic and uncertain at this time, in navigating the pandemic. So I just want to say I appreciate these reports, and these adjustments are, I think, very reasonable and prudent. If we need to bring them back for formal action at some later meeting, then please do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ding, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate this report, but also it's a community. Also, if they see that this agenda, they're also concerned about the if they talking about the from Anson is 350,000. Okay. The question is, if just in case, if we didn't approve this, the extended contract for the Anson, we don't have a chance to get the 350,000, right? So how can we solve this kind of problem? So also we approved I think most for my side also think about it. It's for our street paving because too many people, the resident complain, and resident business is complaining that our street is so bad. So, but Anderson also it's like the waste company. They are heavy the vehicle cause our street. So it's hopefully it's the major this fund should be put on the street paving. Okay. Actually, my goal hopefully it's 100% for the street paving, but if reasonable, it's fine. So I understand it. Okay. And especially like right now, COVID-19 and staff bring this estimate like some like revenue is reduced. I understand it. Okay. For that, okay. My concern, okay, is if we can consider this kind of direction, okay, if just in case our sales tax or local tax property has everything, it's better than we assume. Is there like any chance like we still can move in this 350,000 for our street paving?
Councilman Ding, this is Mark Iservetto. I would say in other times, I would say absolutely yes, but because of our negative fund balance, because of the fact that our reserves are less than zero, any extra money, I'll say, that we end up receiving this year over and above whatever our estimates are, if we end up better than we think, all of that should go back to backfilling our negative fund balance. In the future, when that fund balance is positive, then absolutely, I would recommend that we put that towards street paving, because there is a huge nexus between what impact the trash trucks have on our city. And as Vice Mayor Leal pointed out, if we don't put money towards street paving, we'll never catch up to it. But with our fund balance position being so precarious, us, even at the end of the year, if we end up to the better, I would still suggest, at least for the year, that we put that into our rainy day fund so that we can backfill it. But as we get to the end of the year, we will have an opportunity to make those decisions as we start to make the budget for next year. A part of that will be a recap of the current year we're in, and certainly council could decide at that time what they want to do. But our recommendation will likely be to put that into our fund balance.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Another just dimension for the paving. Last weekend I saw our neighborhood city in Temple City. They paving their Las Tunas. It's so efficiency. And Saturday morning we saw they take off surface for the street, and Sunday night they finish the job. So I hope we can get some experience for our neighborhood city. How can they do? How much this expense? I know if more efficiency, probably it costs more money, but we can compare. So which one it's better? Okay, that's information I give it to you, Mark. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And it also, the speed of the paving depends on the kind of work that they're doing. A lot of our streets are so bad that we have to remove them all the way down to the dirt, and then that takes several days or longer to rehabilitate it. But when we're doing an overlay, as on the 27th, we're likely going to be bringing 2 projects to the city council to discuss paving. And at that time, our public works director can talk about the method that we're going to use. And some of those slurry seal or overlay projects can be done not overnight or in 2 days, but certainly very quickly and much more quickly than the full removal and rehabilitation projects that we've been seeing over the last couple of years. So you have a chance on next Tuesday to get a little preview to that.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mark.
Of course.
Yeah, I understanding the because of the pandemic, so this budget, the hopefully for long run, the future, it's 350,000. It can most for our the street paving, because we don't have enough for the budget. We hopefully little by little maybe can catch up our budget, like Vice Mayor Liao mentioned. We currently to just only have more than 2 million, but we need like 5.7 million. Well, I don't know when we can catch up. So hopefully we can find the right direction to, because the voter because the resident, their taxpayer money, especially for the street paving, they can see where their money to go. So that's the most I think resident that talk to me. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I just want to echo, I witnessed the how Temple City did their street in 2 days. And before that, they did one section in one night. And so apparently there's a way to do it quickly and efficiently, and as a matter of fact, better job. But, maybe the cost is higher. And well, we need to figure out, if it's taking longer time to finish the project, it's going to hurt everybody, all the business around the, the streets. And so that's something that we can talk about in the future. But also, I want to say, St. Gabriel has neglected our streets for so long, 40 years, some 50 years. That's unbelievable. And, we have the paving index is probably the lowest in the county. And, we just have to figure a way to catch up, and there are many funding, as a matter of fact, we can use for fixing the streets, not just the gas tax, the SB one, the Measure M, Measure R, Prop C, and maybe we can use the Prop A money. We don't have exchange, to other cities. So, yeah, all the money that we can pull together, and I mentioned that many times. We can use Measure M to bond, for a big amount of fund, maybe $8 million, and we can take care of all the bad streets at one time. And so we can improve our paving index in a higher level. And so that's something that we're looking forward to discussion in the future, and because it's being delayed, because every one of us got elected because we promised our voters that, hey, we want to fix our streets, every one of us. But after we got elected, and well, we improved a little, but not much. So that's something that we all have to focus in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to remind everyone, we are in the middle of a pandemic. It's still early. We don't know what the impact is going to be. We may get some federal funding, so that will also change the projections. I believe there was at least 3 of us 2 meetings ago decided that it would be best to put those monies aside that we did have from CARES and wait and see. I think making any major decisions or taking away from that reserve that we have set aside would not be prudent at this time. I agree with Vice Mayor and Councilmember. I mean, the streets have always been a priority, not just now, and it's been years and years of neglect. But I think it would be really helpful to have our director, Devink, bring a presentation so everybody understands what constraints we have, not only monetary, but also just the sheer volume that's involved. I think our director has done a phenomenal job with what he has right now and in the situation that we're in right now with the pandemic. But I wanted to also thank the staff for the work that they're doing. And Greg, we look forward to your presentation. I'm not sure when we're going to have it, but I know it's upcoming. And you can just hopefully answer the questions and concerns that some council members may have, and as well as the public, because the street is a major issue for the city, and it has been for a very long time, for decades actually, not just years. But I think it's best to move forward and wait and see. This is why we're doing it every month, but it's only October. We don't have the numbers yet, and we don't know what is going to take place in November or December. You know, there is talk about another wave, and that's going to change everything again. But you know, as long as we're monitoring it, and I know Ken is diligent as well as Julia, you know, they're on the ground, they're listening. I know Mark, you know, you're in so many meetings trying to see if we're going to get any funding, whether it's federal or state. So you know, we all need to kind of collectively come together, and let's just see what the future holds for us. Anyway, there's this is not a vote. The recommendation action is that the City Council receive and file the report. So if there's no other comments, let's proceed to the next item. Sharon?
Item B, sixth cycle Regional Housing Needs Assessment, or RHNA, for the 2021 to 2029 planning period. Presentation will be made by Planning Manager Samantha Tuisart.
Yes, Madam Mayor and member of the City Council. The item before the Council is an update on the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, or RHNA process. The RHNA process has been an almost 2-year-long process. Starting in early to mid 2019, the Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, provided the Southern California Council of Governments, or SCAG, with the Regional Housing Need Determination. For this 6th planning cycle, the unit number is approximately 1.34 million units. The RHNA occurs in 8-year cycles, and the current cycle is the 5th cycle and covers the planning period between October 2013 and October 2021. The planning period between October 2021 and October 2029 will be the 6th planning cycle. RHNA is a requirement of state housing laws, and it is the process used to determine existing and projected housing needs for all jurisdictions in the state. State law requires every jurisdiction to plan for its RHNA allocation and its housing element of its general plan to ensure that there is enough sites and zoning to accommodate the allocated housing unit numbers. Once updated, the housing element will be reviewed by HCD and must be adopted by the jurisdiction. State law requires SCAG to adopt a methodology to distribute the regional determination to every jurisdiction. The proposed methodology was released by SCAG for public review and comments between August and September 2019. Similar to many jurisdictions, the City of San Gabriel submitted comments, and overall, SCAG received 250 public comments. Based on the comments received, SCAG developed a draft methodology, which was reviewed by 2 subcommittees and the Regional Council between October and November of 2019. And the methodology was accepted by HCD in January of 2020. It was anticipated that once the Regional Council adopted the final methodology, that SCAG would distribute the draft RHNA allocation likely in March of 2020. However, due to the pandemic, the draft RHNA allocation was not released until September 4th, 2020. The draft 6th cycle RHNA allocation for the City of San Gabriel is 3,017 total units, 7 more units than the estimated number seen in September 2019. The next step in the RHNA process is the period to file appeals, which commence on September 11th, 2020, and must be electronically filed by October 26, 2020. The hearing on the appeals will be is scheduled to begin on or about December 10th of 2020, and following the conclusion of the appeals process, the final RHNA allocation is anticipated to be issued in February 2021. Local jurisdictions' housing element updates are due to HCD by 2021. And based on state law, the basis and reason for an appeal is limited to 3 criteria. First, the distribution methodology. Second, local planning factors that affirmatively further fair housing. Or third, change in circumstance. State law also limits SCAG's scope of review of the appeals. Specifically, SCAG cannot grant an appeal based upon factors such as a local jurisdiction's existing ordinance. Second, any local voter approved measure. Third, prior underproduction of housing, or 4, a stable population number. This item was presented to the Planning Commission at its October 12th meeting, and the Planning Commission expressed concerns about the need for more affordable housing. but recommended to the City Council to consider appealing the allocated RENA numbers based on changes of circumstance, specifically the occurrence of COVID-19 and the effects it has had on the population numbers and the economy and development in the next few years. So the recommendation before the City Council this evening is to receive and discuss the information contained in the staff report and to provide staff with further direction. And this concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, thank you. So now I'll announce that this is time for public comment on this item is now closed. Chief City Clerk, please read any comments received.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There is no public comment for this item.
Okay, next, council deliberation and discussion. Anybody want to start? Councilmember Fu?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the thorough staff report and presentation. Let's see, I guess one question I have is whether we would incur any additional cost in filing this appeal. In other words, would we require any further city attorney services to do the appeal, or beyond what is included already in our retainer?
Well, that would depend on the direction from the City Council and whether or not the council would like the City Attorney's Office to review the letter. It is something that will be drafted by staff, also to be reviewed by the City Manager.
Okay, so I guess you're saying not necessarily so. We could file the appeal and just see what happens.
Yes, the appeal itself does not have any costs associated with it.
Okay. Yeah, I was somewhat involved with this whole methodology and determining the RENA numbers. Nobody seems to be happy with it. It's of course, I think the end net effect is that dense areas are going to get denser, and then sparse areas are going to be allowed to remain sparse. We see the list of jurisdictions who are planning to appeal, including Alhambra, Claremont, Doherty, Pasadena, South Pasadena, Pomona, Temple City, and Monterey Park and Rosemead are uncertain. But, the majority of the West San Gabriel Valley cities are all planning to appeal their allocations. And I don't see any harm in us doing so either. I don't have a lot of optimism to that it would be successful, because obviously if one jurisdiction gets an adjustment to its numbers, those numbers will need to go to some other jurisdiction, and there's only so far you can kind of push those numbers around. So anyways, I don't mind an appeal if it has no extra cost, I think the methodology as a whole, personally, I believe that we all understand that there's a housing crisis, and we all understand that part of the formula was to try to put additional housing units in transit-rich areas, and also to place them in areas that are close to job centers, i.e. within 30 minutes commute time of a job center. But my personal opinion is that why don't we try pushing job centers to where the land is more affordable and that the housing is more readily available, especially as we've seen now during COVID, working from home seems to work for many industries, many more industries than was apparent previous to the pandemic. So in any case, it is what it is now, and there's no way to go back. In a lot of cases, I think for many jurisdictions in the San Gabriel Valley, especially the West San Gabriel Valley, it'll mean that it will be virtually impossible to meet the RENA goals stated. But at the same time, I think we are doing as much as we possibly can to try to address affordability and the housing crisis. We are working on that all 100% affordable housing project on Del Mar, and in fact, I think a number of our other regular projects are getting back going again. They're still in motion. So unlike many other jurisdictions, we are building housing, and we are building affordable housing. But to be honest, even those projects will make maybe only a 10% dent in the allocation that we've been given. in terms of new housing units that are supposed to be produced in the city. So that being what it is, it's just I think my comments go towards sort of a setting of expectations both for ourselves and for the public, as well as sort of like a little bit of info or background on terms of how we got where we are. So my at the end of the day, I would say we can appeal the allocation, but I wouldn't spend any additional money or resources on it because I don't think that a lot of these in fact I think my prediction would be like less than 5% of any of these appeals would actually be approved. And I think what we do is we just focus on what we can control, which is the housing element and general plan update that I think we still need to do to at least plan for the units that are allocated to us, and concretely working on the opportunities available to us to create affordable housing, as well as to see that that new housing that is being built does get completed, because all of those things are certainly put into question, especially with the pandemic. Those are my comments. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else like to say anything?
I have a question.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yeah, so I know we've gone through this many times, but Mark, can you remind me if we don't meet these requests, I will call them, what's the result of that?
Absolutely, Councilman Harrington, I'm happy to do that. So as long as we have the zoning in place, and that we do that through our housing element and through whatever zoning and general plan updates we need to do as part of that housing element update, as long as we do all of that in the time frames that the state lays out, then we don't have any requirements to actually produce that housing. That being said, if the free market does not take advantage of our zoning and it does not build enough housing throughout that time period, there are new laws that came into effect within the last year or two that would allow developers to come in and build units by right, meaning that they wouldn't be able to go through, or they wouldn't have to go through some of our development review and planning processes. The short answer is we're not held accountable from the city perspective to build that housing, and there's no fines or penalties to the city if that housing doesn't get built. But we do have less and less opportunity to critique those housing projects or stop those housing projects if those housing projects aren't built cumulatively. Is that?
I recall we have filed appeals in the past, and I don't believe we've ever been successful on one.
You're correct. As far as our records can tell, we've appealed the last two and we haven't been successful. And I'll add one other comment that Samantha or Councilman Pooh, I don't think either one pointed out in their comments, which is if a city is successful in their appeal, those units just don't disappear. Those units get allocated to other cities in the surrounding areas. So in fact, if one of those, as Councilman Pooh guessed, 5% of those appeals are successful, we could end up with more units rather than less as a result of one of our neighbors getting a successful appeal. It's for that reason that SCAG is very loath to approve any of those appeals.
And SCAG, their methodology, they get the numbers from the state as far as how to distribute them, correct?
You're correct. They get a number for the whole region, and then they have some criteria that they're allowed to use from the state that they're allowed to use to create the methodology that they use to divvy that up between all the cities in the SCAG region.
So in the end, what I'm getting at is it's just forced densification from the state.
100%. But ultimately, the market's going to determine how much of that gets built. As Councilman Pooh pointed out, our world is changing. And if people decide they want to move to the Inland Empire and work from their home, the market's not going to support building homes in the denser areas. So ultimately, we'll have to provide the zoning, but if it's a situation of whether they'll come and build.
No, I get it. I think it's just a lot of the that's my problem with a lot of the state bringing the law from on down high into the cities, because that just provides a centralized lobbying point for these big developers where the money goes, and then all of a sudden, you know, it rolls downhill and we get the result of it. That's why I'm not a big fan of statewide zoning like this.
It's very much just statewide regulations that are put on us that we have to figure out how to deal with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Mayor Lau, I hadn't seen your hand up.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So yes, SCAG has studied, you know, in this region, and for instance, Ventura County, they're losing population. So I'm sure their rental numbers is reducing. And, you know, some area, Riverside, Imperial County, you know, increase their population. So they need more housing. But St. Gabriel, we tried to appeal twice already, and we were rejected. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe we want to try to appeal again. Maybe one reason is because in the last cycle, we only have 900 units, but now it's 3 times more. You know, this new cycle, we have about 3,000. So it's just too big a jump for a small city like St. Gabriel to come up with all these units. That's one reason. And another reason is, you know, you're talking about the changing circumstances due to COVID-19. But I think we can reason for that is because maybe there are people, you know, moving out of city, and, you know, because of COVID-19. Maybe that's one reason, but I don't know. You know, I think the chance to get permitted from this appeal is very slim, but probably it doesn't hurt to give it a try. But, you know, there's so much we can do, especially we only have one affordable housing that coming up on Del Mar. So that's why I keep saying, you know, let's build more units, smaller units, not big units and less, you know, because it doesn't show our good intention to catch up this, you know, Raymond's number.
So Vice Mayor, I'm sorry, would you be in favor of appealing?
Yes, I
Okay.
will, you know, I agree to give it a try again, you know, to appeal. Even though I think it's very difficult, you know, but we can give it a try. As long as it doesn't cost us any money.
Okay, yeah, just a reminder, we're not taking a vote, but staff just wants direction. Councilmember Harrington, I'm sorry, I just need clarification from you. Would you be in favor of an appeal or not?
No, if they don't adjust our numbers, I don't really think an appeal is going to do much. I mean, they're putting like 3,000 units on it, and we might lose a few, but we've never come close to reaching our numbers anyway. So even if they cut it by 500, it's still way more than we're going to get, in my opinion. So I don't see us benefiting from an appeal.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Ding, I think I also saw you with your hand up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, how can we know that this so it's called a scale? The figure out the number. It's a reasonable number for our city. How can we know that?
Councilmember Ding, the process was over several months where SCAG came up with their methodology and shared it. It is about as confusing of a methodology as you could ever imagine. They have factors that they put in, some access to jobs, access to housing, access to transit, access to densification, as Councilman Harrington pointed out. There are several factors that go into that. And ultimately that gets put into a spreadsheet, and then the population and housing numbers from each city are put into that, and it spits out a number basically. I will tell you that in years past, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but in years past, when you looked at San Gabriel's numbers in comparison to some of our neighboring cities, you couldn't determine any rhyme or reason, because as an example, a city like Alhambra, who's larger and has even more residents than we have, had numbers that were not proportionally larger than San Gabriel's numbers. And so it didn't make sense. I'm not saying that the new number that you can figure it out any more clearly, but I will say when you look at similar cities to ours in the region, our numbers seem more on par with what other cities are being required to do. So it seems to be fair. And as the council members have pointed out before, it seems as though the numbers are denser as you get closer to downtown LA, which we obviously are. And as you get further out into the western parts, the eastern parts of the region, then you get less numbers on a per capita basis. So it is reasonable if you consider the large number that we're required as a region to swallow. It's reasonable, but I mean, the reasonableness of us ever producing 3,000 units, I don't see that happening in 8 years.
So like 3,000, if we agree that this number 3,000, you think our city we can do that, the 3,000 unit, or don't?
So
for the next 8 years.
First of all, this just a reminder for the public that's listening. What we're talking about tonight is just making decisions on where those units are going to go or the public input process. But to answer your question, we're going to have to do a detailed study as part of our housing element that shows every parcel in the city in the areas that we're going to zone for housing. And we have to come up with a number of units that reasonably can fit on that property based on the zoning. And we will have to demonstrate on a parcel by parcel basis to the state that we can accommodate that 3,000 unit number. So yes, we will be able to do that. The matter is whether that ends up getting built or not. That's a totally different question. But I'm confident that we'll be able to show that we can allow for that many units. I'm confident too that our community will come out and not be completely happy with it, because it'll allow more units along our corridors. And that's something that I think has been universally, I shouldn't say universally, but we've had a lot of concerns about that. So I'm confident that that's something that will come out in the process, but there will be many times for the public to come out and get educated and have their voice heard. But ultimately, we're responding to a state requirement, and we don't have much in the way of leeway to do that.
Okay. So here about like appeal, it's so far it's no cost, our additional cost, if just in case. Yeah.
That's right. We will do that at no cost to the city.
Okay. So probably just maybe we appeal, probably estimate how we submit estimate how many house we can have.
So
Probably.
I don't know that we're going to actually put a number that we think our number should be reduced to, but we will lay out based on some of the work that other cities around us have done in filing their appeals, some of the reasons, specifically COVID related, to say that our circumstances have changed since they did that study. We'll come up with what we think is the most plausible reason for that appeal. But I would say we have a little to no chance of being successful in that appeal.
Okay.
Mark, this is Armina. Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Just to add one side comment, in the next few months, we will also be having a consultant come on board who's going to be assisting us with a number of housing efforts. And as part of that, we will be doing an update to our housing element, which Councilmember Ding will assist us in having much more detailed analysis on where housing units can go in the future as we start to do some long-term planning. So those things are happening, and this is really just the start of that conversation. I can anticipate us bringing more items in the next few months to council, specifically about housing and specifically about how affordable housing in the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emily. So if the appeal is no cost, probably help us a little reduce. Maybe I suggest to try, but I like market point. Even we can we can like change the zoning. Maybe we can have the more unique. Then maybe the pandemic, I think, develop. Maybe they don't to build a house. So for my understanding, so for city, just have some planning, right? We cannot force people to come in to build a house, right? If we have the planning to match the statewide needed, that's what we currently discuss, for my understanding. Is that right?
That's right. We're discussing right now that number that we have to achieve. And then over the next several months, we'll figure out how to achieve that number. But you're right. We're only talking about planning for that number, not actually building that number. The city doesn't have to do that.
Okay, understand. Thank you, Mark. So, yeah, thank you. So, yeah, if we can just try the appeal, see what's going on. Okay, that's my comment. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, council member. And I just, oh, I'm sorry, council member Pu?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think, perhaps one potential benefit of filing the appeal too is simply almost as a defensive measure, and in this case, maybe the best defense is a good offense to just sort of signal that as other jurisdictions move to shift their numbers out of their own cities, that we're all in the same boat here, right? I mean, as far as vis-a-vis the various cities and jurisdictions, you can't push numbers from here to there and basically sending the signal, look, we don't think we can have the capacity to do any more numbers either. So don't try to, if you're going to adjust somebody else's numbers in a neighboring jurisdiction, don't try to put them over here. So in other words, it's more of a messaging thing. And I would be really surprised if any of the jurisdictions then really gets a significant reallocation, through this appeals process, because my point is basically it's a sad situation, but basically everybody's left to be in a position where, if you don't want those numbers, you have to push them somewhere else. But don't push them to San Gabriel if you're in Alhambra, and vice versa, right? Or Monterey Park, or Rosemead, or Temple City, for that matter. So I think that maybe the biggest benefit we might be able to get out of filing the appeal is simply to make clear that we don't want reallocated numbers. We don't want our numbers to increase due to reallocation from some other jurisdiction. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
Councilmember Ding.
Yeah, thank you. The Councilmember Pu point out. Okay, so for my understanding, actually the state have like a fixed number for our area. For example, if they have like a 10,000 unit for this our area, no matter you allocate this number to where. So they reduce our San Gabriel, maybe they increase Alhambra or Temple City. For my understanding, is it true?
That's true, Councilman Ding. And to that point, when the numbers first came out, SCAG appealed their number to the state, and they had their number reduced by a very small amount. But ultimately, our number is fixed as a region. And so if Pasadena is successful in an appeal and they lose 50 units, those 50 units have to go somewhere within the whole region, the whole SCAG region.
Okay, for this point, for my field, it's not reasonable. They should be based on like a population or whatever, not like a fixed amount. So, but that's the state rule, right? We don't have choice.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, like Councilmember Pu point out, if we reduce it, we'll be like somewhere else going up. Okay, but if they somewhere else they appeal, they reduce it, they will be let us going up too or not?
It depends on where SCAG reallocates those two.
Mm-hmm.
They could reallocate them next door, or they could reallocate them, at 3 or 4 or 5 cities away. It just depends on how the appeal is successful and where they put those numbers.
My question, okay, if we don't appeal, probably they allocate some another appeal the city, it's go to our city. Is it possible?
That's possible. That is possible. But I will tell you that the difference this time versus the past 2 times is SCAG spent a lot more time on the front end talking to people about the methodologies and had input and comments from as many stakeholders as they could get. And I think that process was made to have the input on the front end so that when they allocate the numbers, they're going to be very strict about not reallocating those. So I think you'll see very few, if any, appeals, and we will not get extra units. That's my guess. Obviously, anything could change, but I think they did their work on the front end so that they don't have to do the work on the back end.
But
Councilmember Ding, I want to mention to you that in the initial, what Mark said when they were soliciting, doing the work in the beginning, a lot of the cities, including San Gabriel, we all wrote letters discussing the different methodologies and how it would impact and I'm also certain that it made any difference at the end, but we did in the beginning when they were doing the work up front. Based on council support, we did submit a very detailed letter discussing all of the methodologies. And unfortunately, I think when they made the decision statewide for all of the areas, didn't seem to make a dent.
Okay. Madam Mayor, may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Because I think the RENA allocations is maybe one of the most, complicated things that we deal with, and it's very kind of abstract and esoteric. Councilmember Ding hasn't had the benefit of going through the process before, so I'm wondering if we might be able either schedule a workshop or a one-on-one session for Councilmember Ding and our community development staff and Mark to go through that. Others of us also, I'm sure, may also have questions about the process and what we need to do going forward. But at this point, it's just about whether or not we file an appeal, and it seems like there has been direction indicated by a majority of the council.
Okay.
Well, would you be open to that, Councilmember Ding? Maybe
I open it. Yeah.
Okay.
If possible, I can. Yeah, I hope we can go because this is back to 2019. The project.
Well, it's been going on for a long time, and there's no rhyme or reason. So we're not going to get through this tonight trying to understand the methodology, but that would be helpful. I haven't had an opportunity to speak yet, but let me allow you to finish, Councilmember.
Okay. All right. No problem. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I understand. If like I'm gonna say I like the one-on-one. Maybe I can know more better. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Councilman. So I was just gonna say that I know that these numbers have always been outrageous. I mean, that's the only word that comes to mind. I think there was one cycle where our numbers were comparable to Pasadena, which was ridiculous when you look at the sheer size of Pasadena and San Gabriel. And what makes it even just a little bit more of a dagger is not only are they asking for 3,000 units, 3,017 units over an 8-year period, but they're also requesting that they be of a certain type, moderate income, low income, very low income, above moderate income. So it is, it's almost impossible, I think. We just don't have that level of density or available space in our community. I do favor the appeal, although we already have a majority, but I also favor the appeal. The only question I had for Mark, kind of along the lines of Councilmember Harrington's question, this has been kind of an ongoing exercise. You must, and nobody ever does. At what point are there going to be punitive damages? I mean, do you believe that there will be withholding of state funds, of federal funds? What have you heard in the pipeline, Mark, our city manager?
I'm more than happy to answer that, ma'am. So there have been 2 ways that the state has enforced these, and it's through housing elements. So we have a certain amount of time to get a housing element approved through the State Department of Housing and Community Development. And the two ways that they enforce it is for those cities that don't have a housing element that's in compliance, they're not entitled to some state housing grant funds. And so you're right that they can withhold some of those funding sources that you won't be able to apply for to meet some of the needs of the housing element. Secondly, for those cities that are most egregious, the Attorney General has filed lawsuits against those cities and in some cases threatened being able to come in and approve housing projects for those cities without any intervention by the city. So ultimately, it's upon us to comply with those state laws and to do it in a way that meets the timelines. And as part, I mean, as Councilman Pu pointed out a couple of moments ago, this is just for that appeal, but we'll have several workshops with the council and the community, and part of that will be that RENA discussion as well. And we can talk about that.
Okay, great, thank you. So I think staff has direction. Samantha, did you have any other questions of council?
Nope, we're clear. Thank you.
Okay, great. And so I see no further comments, so let's move forward to the next item.
Item C, Film Friendly City, Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation's Film Friendliness Initiative and Temporary Film Fee Schedule. Presentation will be made by Economic Development Manager Dominika Migardichin.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. The item before you is an opportunity to establish San Gabriel as a film-friendly city through support of the LA EDC Film Friendliness Initiative and the consideration of a temporary film fee schedule. In early 2012, LA County, in an effort to protect and grow the Los Angeles County film industry, initiated the Film Friendliness Initiative, which included a model film ordinance that provides a template of best practices and streamlines the policies and procedures to permitting, processing, and policies and procedures to streamlining the permitting process and to retain the film industry within LA County. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many segments of the entertainment industry had paused operations for several months. And beginning in mid-June, the LA County Department of Public Health revised protocols for the industry to ensure that the film industry can thrive while following health and safety precautions during the ongoing pandemic. As the industry has slowly started to return and scouting for film locations is well underway, staff sees this as an opportunity to relaunch our marketing efforts and to better position San Gabriel to attract and retain film production. This can include some direct benefits derived to the local economic activity that can be considered, such as transportation services, hotels, restaurants, other service-oriented businesses that will profit from film-friendly practices, as well as the opportunity to market city facilities such as the San Gabriel Mission Playhouse and to promote filming as well as accommodations at our hotels here in San Gabriel. Through support of this item, the City of San Gabriel will maintain our business-friendly reputation within the film industry, as many of our current practices include rapid film permit issuance, established standard hours for film activities and reasonable permit fees, key liaisons for coordinating permits, and police and fire department staff who provide support in dealing with security and interference on film sets. As part of the city's 10-point plan for recovery, resiliency, and reinvestment in response to the impacts of COVID-19 on our local economy, the staff is proposing a temporary film fee schedule to better attract the entertainment industry to San Gabriel and stimulate some more local economic activity. Based on comparative data for the application and film fees, San Gabriel's application fee and daily fee are among the higher fees of our surrounding area. By temporarily reducing fees and formalizing our film-friendly efforts and process, the city can better attract the industry and the industry can pursue San Gabriel as a premier film location. While the city is undergoing a citywide fee schedule survey at this time, staff proposes a temporary alignment of fees, and we will continue working with a consultant to ensure that our newly established fees, if and when they change, continue to be competitive. The recommended temporary fee structure aligns with Film LA's film fees and process. while our film permits are reviewed and calculated on a case-by-case basis. So when deemed possible or necessary, police or fire personnel may need to be incorporated in some of these filming efforts. And if there are additional requirements and additional costs, that will be communicated with the applicant. Again, formalizing the film-friendly process with reduced fees helps spur new and return film interest and investment in San Gabriel, and will help result in additional companies stimulating our local economy through support of our business community. And with that, staff is available for any questions.
Great, thank you. Okay, at this time, the time for public comment on this item is closed. Chief City Clerk, please read any comments received.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no public comment for this item.
Okay, now we'll proceed with council deliberation discussion. Would anyone like to start? No comments? Okay, Councilmember Pu?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So, yeah, I really like this idea. Thank you to the staff for following through on this. I just had a couple of clarifying questions. I think in our existing city ordinances, and I just wanted to confirm that this would be the case if we move forward with the staff's recommendation, that additional services such as if police needs to be on site for any periods of time, or fire, or any other service, traffic services from our public works department, that those would be billed separately. That's on top of the filming licensing fee. Isn't that correct?
Thank you, Councilman Poot. That is correct. While the city has an existing film ordinance, support of this initiative and ordinance does not make any changes to our existing. The main fee that would be changing through a adoption of the temporary fee would be the daily permit fee. But if there is a need based on our case-by-case basis review for additional police or fire or other fees, that will be worked out and communicated with the applicant.
Great. And why only temporary? I guess, is it because we would do it only in conjunction with our annual review, citywide fee review? Is that the intention?
Thank you, Councilman. It's really, the intent is because of on the one hand, we wanted to ensure that this was under the umbrella of the 10-point plan, which, while we call it temporary, we're not quite sure how long the 10-point plan will be in place. In all of its effort, we continue to expand it to provide additional assistance during this time, during the pandemic. Also, in consideration of the fact that the city is undergoing a citywide fee schedule survey, this temporary allows us to ensure that once those fees come back to City Council, if this fee needs to change at that time, then we'll be able to change it. But we are working with a consultant who completely understands and supports this effort to align with Film LA, because that gives us an opportunity, rather than being arbitrary with our fee setting, that is something that's well recognized and still covers our internal costs for reviewing permits.
Great. And so by taking this action now, we will be able to be listed on the Film LA website, or work with Film LA pursuant to that agreement that they have with each jurisdiction.
That's correct. And the economic development team and community services teams have already discussed opportunities to list some of our city facilities on the California Film Commission and some other scouting sites, so that we ensure that we're getting the word out, along with the fact that we're film friendly, that we have some beautiful locations for consideration here. Perfect.
And that would lead, nicely into my last question, which is with respect to some of our historic sites, or those so obviously the Mission Playhouse, the Grapevine Arbor, this may be not specifically designated as a National Historic Site, but it is certainly historic and has a historic look and feel, one that is not available in many other places, so as far as a shooting location goes, it has a unique niche. La Laguna comes to mind as well. Is it possible, or I don't know if if there's any standard rules about whether some additional small, I'm saying like a small daily fee or small license fee on top of the regular license fee, this one here of the $699 of or wait, is that right? $699 for the proposed fee for a 2-week period, because I think that I mean, I certainly agree with us being in line with FilmLA and being able to be listed and searchable basically to all the producers out there for film locations. But we have such unique and historic sites that that I'm pretty sure from a production standpoint, they wouldn't mind paying a little bit extra, you know, to be able to shoot in the plaza in front of the Playhouse or at La Laguna, for example. And so, in other words, at the same time that I was actually one of the advocates for us to go through this process to streamline our permitting, to bring it in line with FilmLA. I also don't want us to sell ourselves short. And I'm wondering if you're aware of any other examples where, you know, for historic sites or these kinds of unique sites that, you know, we could ask for an additional, you know, fee on top of the sort of the base fee.
Thank you, Councilman. I do know, and unfortunately, I don't have our current fee schedule in front of me. I do know that we have the Mission Playhouse listed for a fee. If you take a look at page 3 of the best practices document, attachment B, one of the suggestions that they make is that City Council consider offering fee-free City Council city-owned properties for filming locations. But again, that is just something for your consideration. We definitely can look to expand the fee schedule for the facilities if that is council's will. What we have heard, though, is that the daily fee, changing it from a daily of $580 to this more aligned with the FilmLA, is very much supported in the film industry. We've already communicated with a few different industry reps that are interested in bringing some filming, and, you know, happen to mention that this effort is underway and will be coming to council for consideration, and they wholeheartedly support it. I believe that San Gabriel is already a leader in this industry. They know that we're very business friendly, but when it comes down to setting additional fees or new fees for facilities, we can definitely look into that and bring that back to you if that's council's will, but we will look to market the sites where we can.
Great. Yeah, I was just going to suggest that maybe as we are putting together the full citywide fee schedule, it gives us a little bit of time to experience, you know, with this temporary $699 fee for 2 weeks, and also maybe to do a little bit of extra research where other cities that have historic sites, unique sites that are highly desirable in the entertainment industry, you know, whether or not they have, you know, sort of just an extra fee. And honestly, too, in a way, it's also cost recovery, because it costs more for us to maintain these historic sites in the condition that we do. And so I don't think it's unreasonable, and I'd be very curious to see if other cities, you know, have that kind of a, you know, sort of special site or historic site, you know, an additional fee. I'm sure it's not going to be a lot, but I just don't want us to leave any value on the table when we could possibly get that licensing revenue.
We can certainly bring that information back when we return with that fee study.
Thank you.
Let me just add to that, Councilmember Pooh and Dominica. I was going to also kind of take it one step further and invite our historical commission to maybe weigh in, because when we have filming at these historical sites, I believe there should be a certain level of care I would hate for them to, I'm sure they would be careful, but, any kind of damage and, to understand that this is a historic site, in some cases, registered in the National Registry. But since we have time, we can hopefully we can approve this and we can move forward. But take it back to our historical commission and see if there's anything that comes to mind or any suggestions as we're trying to promote and be a player in the film industry. Is there anything that comes to mind for them? Because they have such experience and depth in that commission. They might be able to also give us some suggestions or know of other locations, And I was thinking in my mind something like a care fee or a historical fee or something just to make sure that, it's protected, and B, there's some kind of recovery just for the ongoing, wear and tear of using it. Something like the sea serpent, I know something like $40,000 has been invested in restoring it. And so I would think there would be something a little bit more than just a regular playground, to say. But anyway, you can please consider it. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, any other council members would like to make any comments? Okay, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think, well, this is a big change, because from 2 weeks of filming, from 8,250 to 699, and well, I guess we'll just follow the Film LA. But however, they have 10 locations allowed. Are we going to do the same thing? We just follow their guidelines. Film LA, they charge $699 for 2 weeks production, but they can have shootings at up to 10 different locations. So I was wondering, are we going to allow to do that?
So, Vice Mayor Lau, it's Mark. It looks like Dominica's having some technical difficulties. I just want to clarify that, yes, it's 10 different locations, but for council and also the public's consideration, those are locations out in the public right of way and streets and those kinds of things. So if they're in front of a house, in one area, and they can move to another house in another area, that is not the right to use our private property and our facilities. That's not going, from the Mission Playhouse to the Grapevine to other public facilities. They would still have to pay fees for each of those city facilities that they use for those days, over and above the filming permit. So that does give them the 10 days, and I'm sorry, 10 different locations, but it's throughout the city, not on our property, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that would make sense, because we have so many historical buildings, and they can do filming at Playhouse, at the Grapevine Arbor, and all these places. If the filming industry is interested in making a story of San Gabriel, I believe San Gabriel should come back, because in the past, why we built the San Gabriel Mission Playhouse, because we have Mission Play, we attract audience from all over the world. That's why we built the Playhouse, and why we have the Grapevine Arbor. It was a hotel, so we can accommodate the tourists and to stay in the hotel. So this is in the past, but anyway, hopefully we can bring that the old glory back to St. Gabriel. But to be competitive, I think for now we'll just have to lower our fees and say, we're business friendly. We want to invite all the filming industry to come to St. Gabriel. So I think it's a good thing. The writer fee, I think we also follow the Film LA. It's $111 per writer for 30 days. So yeah, I think this is, I would approve this. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other
Mayor?
comments? Oh, yes, Armine.
I just wanted to add a quick comment, Mayor, Council members, it's Armina Chaparian. I did want to say that the reason we're taking we've brought this item to you this evening, and you're going to see other film items coming to council in the near future. This is the starting point. We wanted to initiate this initiative to get on the radar with Film LA and some of the other production companies. I know this is something that we've heard from council in the past. I know Council Member Pooh has had a lot of inquiries about this as well. And we thought that by actually formalizing this action tonight with your support, what it does more than anything, it really puts us on the map and it puts us on the radar. So there's several big initiatives you're going to see us take besides the action tonight. There's going to be opportunities for us to revamp our filming website. Right now, you'll see all the basic information that's there with our filming fees, the application form. Our goal is that as we evolve as a film-friendly community, we will work with actually private property owners as well. And similar to our neighboring cities, such as South Pasadena, they have a very extensive database for properties. So if you're a filming scout and you're looking for locations, besides the historic sites, you will now also have the ability to pull from a lot of private property sites because property owners have now wanted to work with the city and listing their site. So this is an opportunity for us to evolve in so many different ways. And the item tonight is really the starting point. So it's great to get this feedback from all of you because what we're going to do is once we have the support of council, hoping that that's the direction we go this evening, we are going to continue working on this effort. And this is an area that Dominica is extremely familiar with. This is an area of expertise that she brings to our community. And we're hoping that, again, as I said, this is just the beginning of a lot of filming initiatives you're going to see coming to you in the next few months. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Armine. Hey, are there any other comments? I do need a motion. Oh, Councilmember Ding?
Yeah, okay. Based on current our fee schedule, it's how many film company will come into our city? We have any experience?
We do. Thank you, Councilman Ding. On page 3 of the staff report, just under the chart, it states that in fiscal year 2018 and 19, we collected a total of just under $5,000. And last year, a total of $3,600 through our film fees. Okay. So our hope is that as things are ramping back up in the industry, as we're marketing our facilities and making it more cost effective for folks to bring their film opportunities here, we will be able to capture some of their catering budget, accommodations budget, support some of our small businesses and our hotels. So while we may be lowering our costs here, and I understand that it might be a little hard pill to swallow because we're in tighter budget times, but the hope here is that we're also contributing to more spending in the community, which is also something that's dire and much needed to support our businesses.
Thank you. Yeah, but for the district, I think it's only this year only 3,600. So it's that's how many companies they come in or how many days they use filming.
You'll have to forgive me. I don't have the stats, the data of how many films or companies or days of filming, but I can run a report and provide that to you. Okay. This week.
Okay. How about even like on the right now the pandemic is how many film companies that come in?
During the pandemic, we haven't had any yet.
Okay.
So this is our effort to get our name back out there.
Okay, because the fee is too high.
We have heard that our fee is high. And, you know, we looked at our surrounding cities. On average, we are higher among the higher fees of surrounding cities. So this makes us a little bit more competitive, and aligning with Film LA, it won't be an arbitrary fee setting. And it's something that film scouts and representatives that normally do this kind of permitting process will recognize and hopefully it'll be a better experience for them to continue coming back to us.
Okay. So yeah, I know, understand it. Your purpose, it's good. Intention is like bring the film company coming to support our local business. Yeah, I agree. So but things like so I just want to see, because I want to know. So we only provide like a 10 location for them filming, or it's whatever they want to go.
So the proposed fee would cover them for a single location up to 2 weeks time for $699. And they can go ahead and apply for the rider fee, which is $111, to extend that to 30 days. But if there's a film production that exceeds 30 days, we would need to have them not necessarily reapply, but we would need to charge them the film fee again.
Okay, just like it's a additional two weeks, just like $111.
That's correct. And by setting this up where we can reevaluate every 30 years, it creates an opportunity to have a good relationship with the film reps. If there are any issues that are arising from their set or from their efforts in the community, it's a good touch base opportunity with us as well, so that it's an ongoing relationship.
Okay. So the filming location, like Councilmember Fu pointed out, okay, is it whatever they can go to just Mission Playhouse, or go to the Valley Boulevard and give you it's a business area or residential area? So we have any restriction for them, or just whatever they agree?
We do. We definitely, so it depends on what they're looking to do. And that's why an application and a conversation with them to better understand on a case-by-case basis is so necessary. They can film on city streets, but there is an additional cost for street closures. They can film at our hotels or at private businesses, but they would need the sign off of the landlord or the business owner. They provide that to us so that we know that they have the okays and they're in good standing and can use the property. They also submit liability insurance information. So we make sure that they're covered and that we're covered by facilitating the permit to them.
Okay. Yeah, I like it, like if we, because we have historical building for the Mission Playhouse, probably it's I think charge the reasonable amount. It's better also help us like maintenance for our Mission Playhouse too, you know. So also have some control limit people. It's everybody, maybe if the same price, they just use the Mission Playhouse, you know. It's a good historical, probably. Yeah, have scheduled fee for this kind of building. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Okay, thank you, Dominic.
So would you like to motion, Councilmember Ding? Make a motion?
Make a motion?
Yes, to approve the recommended action.
Okay, I make a motion.
I'll second.
Great. Okay, if there's no further discussion, City Clerk, let's take the vote.
Councilmember Dean,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Pu,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Liao,
Aye.
Mayor Menchaca.
Aye.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
Madam Mayor, we have no public comment for this section.
Okay, City Manager's report.
Madam Mayor, I don't have anything tonight. I was going to mention the plan for the election security, but our police chief did a wonderful job of laying that out earlier in the meeting. So we'll have something to council next week as part of our update.
Okay, great. Okay, council member comments and conference meeting reports. Councilmember Pu.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So a week and a half ago, the League of California Cities had its annual conference. It was virtual, and I attended the Seoul there, and there were many good workshops on and cities throughout the state comparing notes on how they've adjusted to COVID-19. The Seoul resolution on the ballot, if you will, at the conference was with respect to whether or not, how do I describe this? Whether or not to lobby Congress to hold social media platforms more accountable for content on those platforms that would encourage illegal activity. And actually, as I understand it, the General Assembly was short of quorum by just 2 cities, which is pretty astounding given that there's 400 and something cities and in the 450, I believe, something in that realm, cities in the state of California. So anyway, the quorum was short by just two votes, and but it did pass, although it was controversial. And so that will be another policy item that the League of California Cities will be continuing to take up in the future. And I believe the motion was the resolution was to require those social media platforms to identify and take down that type of content that would encourage illegal activity. So in any case, I think some statement, a message on holding social media platforms more accountable for the content disseminated through them, I think was the main goal. And what the details of that potential legislation could look like, I think are still left up in the air. But I just wanted to report out with respect to that piece from the League. Also last week, the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments had its governing board meeting. At the Transportation Committee meeting I'm sorry. Going back to the League of California Cities, I was also at that time elected the first vice president of the API caucus of the League of California Cities. So it's an honor to serve on that board with so many great leaders around the state. And we thank Councilmember David Rue from the city of LA, who's the outgoing president. The current president is Councilmember Sheng Tao from the city of Oakland. And then next year, assuming the normal succession, then that person will be me. Also last week, the COG had its Transportation Committee meeting and general board governing board meeting. And at the Transportation Committee meeting, I'm happy to report I was elected as the new chair of the Transportation Committee. The new vice chair is Ed Reese from the city of Claremont. And all of this is necessitated due to the retirement of Councilmember John Fasana from the city of Doherty. And, we all thanked Councilmember Fasana for his many, many years of service. He's served on not only on the COG and also the Transportation Committee chair, but also as the San Gabriel Valley's representative to the Metro Board for the last 27 years. He was one of the only other original members of the Metro Board, actually. I think he mentioned that Mark Ridley Thomas is the only other person who was also on the board when on the Metro Board when it started, but then he went away and I think, did some time in the assembly and so forth. So actually John Fasana is the most senior, most tenured, member of that board and also of the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. So it won't be the same, and there's plenty of new to learn and new challenges to address. But just as a preview, some of the big items on the agenda for Metro are this consideration of going to a fareless system, which means that they are considering to allow all riders of, I think just for the bus system, although I think the light rail system is also under consideration, to ride without having to pay a fare. And this would have also an impact, obviously, on all of the subregions, as well as the, what are called regional operators and municipal bus services. There is also a metro traffic reduction study, which is used to be called the congestion pricing feasibility study. That will also have a big impact if adopted, because it could essentially create particular zones or even additional lanes that utilize the fast track idea of pricing for traveling during periods of high congestion. So that's another thing that's interesting. For ourselves, we will also be undertaking very soon a San Gabriel Valley transit feasibility study. We're working to expand the scope of that study, and we will be working with that, as well as Metro's what's called the bus rapid transit feasibility study, to see if we can't come up with better solutions for the San Gabriel Valley, because for the past couple of years we have been a little bit on the short end of the stick as far as transportation solutions, alternatives to just basically being in your car. And even though COVID has reduced traffic somewhat, some estimates actually show it to only be a 10 to 15% reduction in the traffic. And I think we kind of do see that already on the 10 and 60 freeways with the level of traffic and congestion. Maybe not the same as pre-COVID levels, but it's nevertheless going to be an ongoing problem, and one that will continue to get worse as affordability is pushing population further east, but jobs are still, in our area, downtown or on the west side. So we hope to be able to, I'm looking forward to working with my colleagues there to bring more transportation solutions to the San Gabriel Valley to improve the quality of life, not only for our sub-region, but also for all of the, other regions of the county, including and also other regions of SCAG, actually from, San Bernardino County, Riverside County, Orange County, because all of those folks do commute, and many of them do commute directly through the San Gabriel Valley. So we bear the brunt of the pollution and the wear and tear, and need to, I think, find better solutions in terms of getting people to where they need to go. So that's my report. Thank you.
Any other reports? Councilmember Ding, I see your mic is on.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, last week the first time to have a chance to attend the California JPIA annual meeting. Okay, and get a lot of information regarding the city insurance. I think that I can mention that, okay, if possible, I asking maybe the market maybe find out it's our the insurance provider can give to us the information, like they talking about like if city own the facility, if like pandemic, if you buy the right insurance, you can get the revenue. If we previously got the revenue, so if you have the right insurance, you can claim that. So I maybe a Mission Playhouse, something like that. Okay, I hope we can chance to have their insurance company representative to have the like some presentation to let us know. Okay, we our insurance include that or not, or how much cost for them. That's the I get. I think for me it's a good important the information, and also have the information regarding the works comp too. Yeah, maybe we can one-on-one we can have chance to talk to the mark or city staff. Yeah.
Absolutely, Councilman Ding. It's not on the agenda, so we can't talk about it tonight. But Edward Macias, our HR and Risk Management Director, and I will be more than happy to sit down with you one-on-one, and then we can provide information to the full council as to what we talk about, because I'm sure the council will be interested in that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's my report.
That's your report. Okay, Vice Mayor.
Okay, so I just have an announcement. This is from Athens Services. This coming Saturday, October 24th, they're going to give away free compost. Because during COVID-19, a lot of people just doing their garden work, planting more flowers, more vegetables and fruit trees. So this compost will be good for their soil. And it's free. The location is the Vincent Luco Park. Corner of Prospect and Wells Street from 9 o'clock to 12 p.m. But you have to bring your own container. It has to be sturdy one and no plastic bags that allowed. So yeah, hopefully we'll have a lot of people show up for this free compost giveaway. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Vice Mayor, for reminding everyone. I also attended the League of California Cities virtual conference and expo, October 7th, 8th, and 9th. There was quite a few interesting webinars, I guess you would call them. One was the Latino Caucus one. And what I took from that is they did a virtual experience of the board members of the Latino Caucus, and they went to their cities and kind of highlighted, you know, the key locations. And I just thought that would be great just for our own city, because we have so many great sites, as we talked about earlier today, including our Mission Playhouse. I think our Mission Playhouse could have their own, actually. But it was a really kind of interesting, they called it, I forgot the exact name, but it was like travels, you know, Magic Carpet, that was it. Magic Carpet ride through, you know, different parts of the state. And the board members just shared, you know, about that particular location in their cities. So, yeah, again, I thought it was a great idea, and that we can just do that for ourselves. There was another one that I attended called Is Virtual Workforce Our New Normal? And some of the takeaways from that was that we're all adapting to telecommuting, and that we all need to start considering that it's not an all or nothing. There is something in between. And so they had some really good ideas of how, you know, how different cities are starting to build that culture of working remotely. I also attended one called Leadership in Time of Uncertainty, Fear and Recovery. And Santa Clarita in particular, you know, kind of raised some eyebrows. For those who didn't know, because I know I didn't, they actually have experienced a lot of protests. But they actually have a lot of pride in the fact that they've had 50 protests over the last 3 months, 1,000 protesters on one particular day in June. But over those 3 months, they've had no arrests, no injuries, no damage to properties. And what they've said is they've just coordinated with their community, with the protesters, and with law enforcement. And so, you know, it was something that they were very proud of and wanted to share with all of us there that were participating. And then lastly, the one workshop that had no presentation, no agenda, no nothing, was called Advancing Racial Equity. And they have now a director of race, equity, and leadership. His name is Leon Andrews. And the question was, you know, what is your city doing? How are you addressing what is taking place on a national level? And Councilmember Pooh and I just happened to be on the same session, and I was able to ask the question, but also share you know, what we are doing here in San Gabriel. And I actually emailed them the HERE Commission ordinance, the first reading, and they really, Mr. Andrews really appreciated it and is going to use that as a resource. So as other cities are interested in maybe pursuing that same course of action, you know, they have our ordinance now there. But it was just interesting how everyone is trying to address it in different ways, and just having those questions and comments from the community, from their own staff. And it was actually, as Councilmember Pooh and I said, it was quite validating that it is taking place. And you know, this particular session actually had a really good turnout. They had 80 people online listening, and it was a Q&A. But again, there was no agenda. It was just, you know, asking how we can continue to to thrive, you know, in this environment, socially, economically, academically, and physically, and just by having these questions and doing that self-assessment. So it was a really great conference overall, and so I just wanted to report out. So for now, let's see, next item is closed session, and there is none. And so it is 8:42, and I don't know what the Dodger score is, but I just wanted to adjourn saying that let's hope we can get the win this year. So go Blue, go Dodgers, meeting adjourned. 2020, well, at 6:30 p.m., but we do have a special meeting next Tuesday on October 20th at 6:30. So again, good night. Thank you so much to everyone, and have a good evening.